So welcome back to racing action here on this TCR UK race weekend. We're heading on to single-seaters now with the first of 3 races for the weekend for the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford Championship. This, of course, has been a long-standing stalwart of not only just club motorsport but worldwide motorsport. Of course, it's just going for just over 50 years. It celebrated its 50th anniversary last year, having existed since 1968. And, of course, it still proves to be a worldwide phenomenon, producing true stars of the future. Well, this year's 2019 championship has been absolutely incredible. Plenty of action and plenty of competitive drivers out there. We have had so far 5 different race winners from the first, what effectively is 8 rounds of the championship, and the action is only starting to get even more intense. So heading into this weekend here, let's give you an idea of who is winning the points as the cars make their way around off the grid onto the formation. Now, I remember, of course, that they probably are going to start from this green flag lap, so we'll give you the grid as to where people are then. Qualifying was a great effort from Ross Martin, championship leader, who starts on pole position in car number 11. Alongside him on the front row will be number 77, James Clark. Yet to win a race this season, but from the front row, is he possibly in a good position to become our 6th different race winner? Rory Smith, who was a winner at race at Svendsen, starts on the second row of the grid. Alongside him is the American from St. Louis, Spike Kohlbecker. Row 3 is Neil McLennan and Brendan Lee, the double F1 esports champion in his 3rd or 4th weekend in the National Championship, and doing a great job with 6th fastest time. 7th fastest, Jonathan Brown, back in the championship after he had a weekend off at Anglesey committing to exams, so good to see him back on the grid. Alongside him, welcome back to the championship for this weekend, Carter Williams, who was in the championship last year, but is having a bit of a one-off because of course, on the Motoka package, they're in the middle of their summer break, and Carter Williams currently races in British F4, but whilst that's been happening, he's jumped in with Oldfield Motorsport to start 8th on the grid. 9th fastest in qualifying, starting on row 5, is Jamie Sharp in the car number 89. Alongside him in the Border Reavers Run race chassis is Jamie Thorburn. Row 6 is Micah Mcpherson, car number 16. Alongside him is the American Aaron Jeanson. Row 7 is John Svendsen, the Belgian driver who always comes across from the continent to race. He's one of the 2 Clubman class drivers in the field. Alongside him is the Irish driver, the former junior racer Morgan Quinn. Then welcome to the grid for the first time, Adrien Laysac. He is the current French Formula Ford Championship points leader in car number 2. He's run by the Old School Racing outfit, which is run by Jeffrey Horion, who ran a couple of cars in last year's Formula Ford Festival, with Horion and certain Vincent Rademacher competing that weekend. Good to see that car back on English soil. Adam Quartermain is also on the grid as well in car number 7. He starts in 16th place, and at the back is Nicole Woods, who I think is recently accepted as an MS Motorsport UK Academy driver. Of course, we just had Independence Day, the July 4th Independence Day, so happy Independence Day, or belated Independence Day, of course, to our 3 American drivers on the field, to Spike Kohlbecker, to Carter Williams and Aaron Jeanson. And hopefully they can kick things off this weekend with a bit of a tribute to that with a good result. So, on the left-hand side is Ross Martin in the white Randy chassis. Alongside him to the right in the red and white car is James Clark. We're set now for the first of 15 minutes of action here in the National Formula Ford, waiting for the cars to get underway. So it's Martin and Clark on the front row of the grid, Smith and Kohlbecker on row 2, then McLennan, Lee, Brown, Williams, Sharp and Thorburn. That's the top 10. Let's see who can win the sprint down towards Clairvaux Corner. We're all set for the first race of the weekend for the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford Championship. And very soon we'll get the green flag at the back of the field and racing will be underway. So the red lights are on, revs are up, and race number 1 of the weekend is go. Decent start, great start in fact from the front row man from pole is Ross Martin. Clark slots into 2nd place, a cracking start from the 2nd row for Spike Kohlbecker in 3rd, and immediately for the lead goes down the outside James Clark, but Ross Martin gets the whole shot as they turn through Clairvaux for the first time into Hawthorns. Martin leads, it's Clark in 2nd place, Spike Kohlbecker in 3rd. Rory Smith is into 4th position. Then the 2 Kevin Mills Spectrums of Neil McLennan and Brendan Lee as they turn out through the S's for the first time. There's Spike Kohlbecker, and immediately look at that, Ross Martin trying to break the toe from the 2 Cliff Dempsey cars behind him as they charge down towards Tower Corner, and down the outside goes James Clark from the lead into the right-hander, side by side for the lead, but James Clark finds himself on the dirty part of the track on the outside, and now he comes under threat from his teammate Spike Kohlbecker as the 2 Cliff Dempsey cars go wheel to wheel into Jim Clark S's. Careful boys, no contact, and Spike Kohlbecker edges his teammate out wide. This will put him under threat from Rory Smith in 4th position behind them as they turn through Barcroft for the first time. Looking up the inside for 4th position goes Neil McLennan in the Kevin Mills Spectrum. Rest of the field goes pouring through. Looks like a nice clean start for everyone so far as they turn out through Sunny in and Sunny out. And already Ross Martin, now after that initial challenge, is trying to break away here. Again, the two Cliff Dempsey cars going back into combat, but they're being joined by both Rory Smith and also 5th position Neil McLennan. McLennan now trying to force his way up the inside. James Clark, who's lost a place to Rory Smith. Clark goes back up the inside line and holds the inside on the exit, trying to put McLennan 2 wheels onto the grass, which he does. And look at Brendan Lee in the 72 car. Cracking start for the man in 6th position, the double F1 Esports champion, doing a great job. So Ross Martin leads the way at the end of lap 1. Spike Colbecker in 2nd place, Smith in 3rd. Clark is 4th, McLennan 5th, and Brendan Lee in 6th position. That's the leading group. 7th place for Carter Williams with a great start from the 4th row of the grid. Jonathan Brown is down to 8th, and then Jamie Sharp and Jamie Thorburn round out the top 10. Slightly wide in entry into the S's there for Spike Colbecker. That might put him under threat from Rory Smith. You can see Spike Colbecker can notice it. He's looking in his mirrors and he can see the Medina chassis behind him getting closer. Here he comes, looking to the inside line, trying to make a late dive on the inside of Tower Corner. It might work. Tries to force Spike Colbecker wide on the exit, puts him over the curve. They're going to be side by side again. Now, if Rory's a brave man, he'll try and go around the outside, but he thinks discretion's a better pass of valor and goes back through. James Clark thinks, well, if you pass me earlier on the first lap, I'll try and get you back on the second if you don't mind. But now that move, after its fail, is putting him under threat from Neil McLennan once again. And again for the 2nd lap of the road, tries to think about a move up the inside into Sunny Corner. But look at the lead Ross Martin's pulling out already. He's sailing up the road, saying, see you later, boys, battle amongst yourselves, I'm off. The championship leader trying to extend his advantage. He came into this weekend merely with a 3-point lead. That's Nicole Woods off the road down at Sunny Inn. She's still learning in her rookie year in Formula Fords and had 1 or 2 mishaps along the way, but she'll get back on road and unscathed and back into the race. At the hairpin for the 2nd time. Rory Smith now under threat from James Clark. Now, James Clark made a great debut for Cliff Dempsey Racing here last year as Ross Martin sets the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 27.064. The first flying lap now after they started from lap number 2. Back into Clairvaux over these, but James Clark made a sensational debut here last year for Cliff Dempsey Racing. He had been racing in a McGowan chassis earlier than that throughout the year, but didn't have too much luck. Ran with Cliff Dempsey for the first time last year, thundered back up towards the front of the field and has been up there ever since. He just had a little bit of bad luck and hasn't really had the results he's wanted. He's had several podiums, but that first Formula 4 win has eluded him. He's going to try and get it here as he tries to make a move on Rory Smith on the inside line. Neil McLennan's in there too, but the trouble is the more these guys fight each other, the easier it's going to be for Ross Martin to carry on pulling out a break here in the lead of the race. Look, he's not even in shots to come back into the Jim Clark S's. That's how far ahead he is as they turn through Barcroft. Where's Ross Martin? There he is at the bottom of the shot, pulling away. The gap across the line last time at the end of lap 2 was 2.208 seconds. That's how much all this battling's holding up. The battle between 2nd down to 6th position, 5 of them all together. So it's Spike Colbecker from Rory Smith. Oh, off the road. That looks like Alan Quartermain. So a mistake for one of our 2 Clubman drivers off the road. A little bit out of sight as it went behind the post, but looks as though he's managed to get away with that relatively unscathed. As the cars head back into the hairpin at the end of lap 3, and Spike Colbecker just with Rory Smith nibbling away at the exhaust on the rear of the race chassis. They head down the pit straight towards Clairvaux once again. On to lap 4 now. So Martin, the lead now up to 2.7 seconds. He managed to pull out another half a second on that lap, so wasn't able to pull out too much. I think that Spike Colbecker and Co are realising if we keep on battling, Ross Martin's going to keep on extending the lead and we'll never be able to catch him. So I think if they can try and possibly work together as a quintet, they might be able to close him down, but you try telling 5 Formula 4 drivers to work together when they're in the heat of battle, that'll never work. In fact, it's almost going to be 6, because look at the back of the train. Here comes Jonathan Brown to the inside for 3rd place goes Rory Smith. So Colbeck has to give him the run. There's contact, they bang wheels, and Colbeck gets edged that wide past the pair of them with Jonathan Brown. It's side by side between Smith and James Clark on the outside line, sweeps across in front of Rory Smith and takes 2nd place as a result. So Smith is down to still in 3rd position, but now it's McLennan in 4th. Colbeck is down to 5th. He's coming under threat from Brendan Lee in 6th position, and in 7th place is the 3rd of the Cliff Dempsey cars. That's Jonathan Brown. He took a race victory, his first National Formula 4 winner back at Alton Park. He's one of the 5 different race winners we've had, and incredibly in the top 6. Effectively, all 5 of our race winners are in that group, that leading group of 7, because Ross Martin, along with Spike Colbecker, Rory Smith, Neil McLennan, and Jonathan Brown have all taken race victories. Brendan Lee hasn't. He's still in his rookie season with the rookie plate. As up the inside for 3rd place goes Neil McLennan. Of course, Neil's a former Scottish champion. He's made it to the Mazda Road to Indy Scholarship Shootout, I think, at least 2 or 3 times. Ross Martin with a new fast lap of the race out in front in clear air. 1 minute 27.016. Gap is out to 3.4 seconds now. So this is the main fight. Bouncing over the curbs in second place goes James Clark. And Rory Smith took the first win of the season in very similar sunny conditions back in April at Svendsen. McLellan also won that weekend as well. They sprint down towards Tower Corner again in the group. Just behind them there is Jamie Sharp, former British F4 racer, and he's under threat now. It looks to be from Aaron Jeanson by the looks of it as we look down the order. That's Carter Williams, in fact, actually, in 9th position, just behind the red and black car. Someone kicking up the dust in the background up at Tower Corner. But the fight for third place goes on now. James Clark tries to pull away in second. Rory Smith has third place. Neil McLellan wants it. He's been trying to set up a move into Sunny and Sunny out as much as he can. That's Nicole Woods off the road again, sadly. But she's get back onto the road again unscathed, but she's towards the tail of the field, continuing to learn her craft in Formula Fords. Ross Martin sweeps 3 shots, still in the lead. For third place, Neil McLellan is not giving up the pursuit. In fact, sweeping to the outside line might put him under threat now for Spike Colbecker into the complex. There's Jamie Thorburn under threat from John Svendsen, and indeed it has, because there goes Spike Colbecker trying to dive up the inside to force the issue of Neil McLellan on the exit of the hairpin. Both of them get a little bit of a tail slide, and it will be a wheel-to-wheel sprint down towards turn 1. Meanwhile, Ross Martin with another new fastest lap of the race into the 126s. 126.962. Wheel-to-wheel, side-by-side, classic Formula Ford action, and McLellan just holds on from Colbecker as they turn back into Clairvaux. But watch out for Brendan Lee in the 72. Of course, he's the reigning double F1 eSports champion. But he's certainly proved he can handle a real race car in these first 4 seasons. Had his ups and downs, but getting quicker and quicker. His race pace is getting better and better every single weekend, every single race he completes. He's coming under threat from Jonathan Brown at the moment in the 3rd of the Cliff Dempsey cars. The group now from 2nd down to 7th, all the way back into Tower Corner once again. As we say, the leading gap is out to 3.6 seconds now for Ross Martin. He had a bit of an unfortunate end to the weekend at Anglesey last time out. He won the first 2 races, but then collision with Micah Mcpherson put him out of the race, and that was a DNF racked up for the first time for Ross Martin. At the moment, everything is looking rosy for him as they turn back in, and that's Neil McLellan running deep. He goes too wide into the first part of Sunny in. Up the inside goes Spike Colbecker and says, thank you very much. But McLellan might get him back on the exit as they head back down towards the complex. And now Brendan Lee's getting involved. Here comes Jonathan Brown down the outside of the 2nd of the Cliff Dempsey cars. Meanwhile, Carter Williams continues his pursuit of Jamie Sharp, and just behind him at the bottom of the top 10 is Jamie Thorburn, who has pulled away from John Svendsen in the process, with Aaron Jeanson 12th, Morgan Quinn 13th, Adri Lesak in 14th place in his first race on UK soil, and yet another fastest lap for Ross Martin. Lowers the fastest lap by another 10th. It's a 126.892. The gap is almost 4 seconds now at the front. 6 minutes to go, wheel to wheel now between Brendan Lee and Jonathan Brown. This will be for 6th and 7th place, but Brendan holding firm in front. Very impressive, Brendan. It's only his 4th weekend in the National Formula 4 Championship, but look at that, Ross Martin, clear track around him, absolutely sailing away at the front. No trouble whatsoever. It's the battles behind. They're all starting to pair off now, rather than one big group of 6 cars. They're all bunched off into little pairs of groups of 2 now. It's a scrap for 2nd, 4th and 6th now that's developing. So James Clark under threat from Rory Smith as we head into the Jim Clark S's again, and they start to pull away in turn from Spike Colbecker and Neil McLellan, and then behind them we've got the scrap for 6th developing, as we saw, between Brendan Lee and Jonathan Brown. Back into Sunny in once again, turning their way through the right-hander, and still look at this, as one Kevin Mills car hunts, the other one has to defend. One's the hunter, one's the hunted. You can see them there. There's Jamie Sharp, followed by Carter Williams. Great 2x2 battles here as they turn up through the complex again. And it's one of the fastest games of motorsport chess you'll ever see, these Formula 4s dicing amongst each other. Let's look at the gap this time by for the leader, Ross Martin, across the line. It was 3.9. What's the gap this time by as he crosses the line? It's now gone. It's a 127.1. He's dropped his pace by a couple of tenths. As there's more scrapping in the background, that's Brendan Lee, who I think has lost out to Jonathan Brown, and now you can see on the outside lines coming under threat from Jamie Sharp and another of the Team Dolan cars. So side by side, this is now for 7th place, and Brendan Lee thinks better of it and slots back behind. I think he realised that if he went side by side, it was possibly going to be a collision course, so slipped back behind and thinks discretion's the better part of valour. But now he's coming under threat from Carter Williams and losing quite a bit of pace pretty quickly. So is that a problem developing for Brendan Lee, I wonder? Because Carter Williams is pulling away from him pretty quickly, so that could be a developing problem. As up the inside finally goes Neil McLellan. Take 2 now on the inside of Spike Colbecker. Is there going to be contact this time? Colbecker goes over the curbs on the exit of Tower Bend, But still, the young American for St. Louis will not capitulate. He will not let Neil McLennan get through here with less than 4 minutes to go. Great defensive effort. Looking back up the inside again for Barcroft. Getting his nose in front, but still, Spike Colbeck is putting up a heroic defence here of what is 4th position. It's best of the rest outside the top 3. But you never know. These two dicing for, like it was for the race victory. And now look at Jamie Sharp now. Jamie Sharp, now he's cleared Brendan Lee, who does appear to have a problem because he's dropped behind. He's out of shot, so I'm afraid to say it looks like we've lost Brendan Lee with a mechanical problem of some kind, because we've just seen as well the likes of Jamie Sharp and also Carter Williams, Jamie Thorburn and John Svendsen coming through the shot. So out of the race, sadly, is Brendan Lee. His teammate, meanwhile, is still putting Spike Colbecker under pressure here. Spike, he's not inexperienced in these kind of cars. Before he came to the UK this season, he's been racing in Canada and in New Zealand in very similar Formula Ford style chassis, so he knows exactly how to handle a car like this. And his adaptation to the UK circuits has been absolutely spot on. So really showing what he can do here in what is still one of the world's premier Formula Ford championships. As now the battle of the second continues to rage, and that was James Clark just putting a wheel onto the grass on the exit of the S's. Now he's coming under threat, also so is Neil McLennan. Watch for second place as Rory Smith puts himself into the mirrors of James Clark. Behind them, it looked as though Neil McLennan was really starting to line up a pass here once again for Spike Colbecker, but he hasn't been able to get through at this point in time. So, 2 Cliff Dempsey cars coming under threat as, again, McLennan looks to the outside of the first part of the Jim Clark S, is trying to set him up for a pass, possibly into Barcroft. He's not far enough alongside. Will he make a dive into Sunny in here? 2 cars nose to tail, but still McLennan watching again. Spike Colbecker goes wide. Spike Colbecker goes too deep in the first part. Sunny in runs wide. Now, was that a mistake or was it a possible mechanical issue? Either way, Spike Colbecker sails up the sails off the road almost, and Neil McLennan up now into 4th position. And what's interesting now is that Spike Colbecker's got back on the road, but just in front of his teammate, as a change for seconds also taken place. So it's all kicking off here on lap 9 of this race with just under 2 minutes to go, as Rory Smith goes up to 2nd place at the expense of James Clark. Meanwhile, the lead gap, let's check in with Ross Martin. How far ahead is he now? 4.3 seconds. And what's interesting, now, Rory Smith is matching the pace of the leader, because it was a 1:27.4 last time for Ross Martin. It is also a 1:27.4 for Rory Smith. So I think possibly that's Ross Martin just conserving the car a little bit to get it home for the victory. But Rory Smith is not done for 2nd place here, and look at that. James Clark knows it. He wants 2nd place and wants to reclaim it now. Now Neil McLennan's also broken away in clear air. It might be too little too late, but he's starting to charge up after the battle for 2nd place now. As up the inside again, defending the position goes Rory Smith. James Clark will try and get him back on the exit, and look at that. He's pointing, saying, look, rather than battle, work with me. Let's try and get away from Neil McLennan, try and catch if we can in these closing stages. Ross Martin, although a gap of 4.3 seconds, try and close that in with less than a minute to go. It's rather ambitious, but don't tell Rory that. As they head into the right-hander. And we'll just waiting to see our leaders come back into shot here for a moment. There is Ross Martin. Almost forgotten about him for a moment, because he in the front here is once again. Rory Smith is under threat from James Clark, looking down the outside, looking for the switchback. But you have to say, look at this. James Clark goes round the outside into the complex. Can he get the inside line? I think he can. Yes, look, that's a great pass. Down the outside, the first part of the complex, and James Clark is back into 2nd place. But there is one more time around the 2.1 mile Croft circuit here in North Yorkshire. Ross Martin looks at the moment to be set in the lead, but anything can happen. 4.6 seconds is the gap as we head on to the last lap here for the first race of the weekend for the Avon Tyres National Formula Fords. This is Formula Ford racing as we remember it at its best. Drivers slugging it out wheel to wheel for the leading positions. Little wide on the exit of Hawthorns, but to get a slightly better swing and momentum onto the back straight through the S's for James Clark. But again, look at the run that Rory Smith gets. Clark tucks to the inside line, looks to the outside to make a move down towards Tower Corner. Now, Neil McLennan's last lap, he did a 1:27.2. Personal best is back up the outside, goes Rory Smith to try and get 2nd place again. And he's almost shown the road, but look at that, look at the grip he found. He's pointing again to James Clark, saying, look, rather battle, let's try and go forwards. But it's not going to work, and James Clark's not there still. There's contact! They touch wheels on the exit of the 2nd part of Jim Clark S's, and almost again, Clark's over 2 wheels onto the grass. They're still at it again, back up the inside, but round the outside goes Rory Smith and holds on to 2nd place. That was brilliant, close, on the edge Formula Ford action. And look at Neil McLennan. The time he's pulling in is absolutely incredible. The clock has hit 0. This is the final lap of the race, and into the complex the final time will come the leaders. It'll be too little too late for second and third place. James Clark will have to settle for the final step on the podium, as out of the final corner for the final time should come Ross Martin as they head to the checkered flag. And on the sprint to the line, it will be Ross Martin who comes to the checkered flag and takes victory in race 1 of the weekend in the Avon Tyres National Formula Ford Championship. It'll be second place for Rory Smith after a thrilling, heart-stopping last lap battle. Third place goes to James Clark, and fourth will go to Neil McLennan. And the winning margin at the end was 3.2 seconds, so Ross Martin did back off a little bit, but that is now, I believe, if I remember, serves me right, his 4th race victory of the season for Ross Martin. And that is crucial for his chances in the 2019 National Pro Class standings. Rest of the field goes charging through. What a breathtaking race that was for National Formula Ford. And there's 2 more where that came from tomorrow afternoon when Andy McEwen is here to take you through all the action for the National Formula Fords. But a brilliant race nonetheless. Last few cars across the line. Looks to that's possibly, I think that is Adam Quartermain coming across to finish in 14th place. And we'll give you the results on the screen very shortly. Waiting for our last couple of cars to come through. I think it should be Nicole Woods, the last car across the line, which it is. There she goes, and that should be done and dusted for our runners in the race this afternoon. So, as I said, we unfortunately lost. Not only did we lose Brendan Lee, we sadly also lost Micah Mcpherson. Here's confirmation of the provisional result then. Ross Martin wins the first race of the weekend for the Avon Tyres National Formula Fords at Croft. He wins by 3.2 seconds from Rory Smith after a thrilling last lap battle with James Clark, as Smith and Clark take up the final places on the podium. Neil McLennan scores 4th ahead of Jonathan Brown in 5th position. Spike Colbecker is down in 6th with Jamie Sharp 7th. Carter Williams, welcome back to Formula Fords with a great 8th place finish. Jamie Thorburn 9th, and John Svendsen wins the Clubman contingent by finishing in the top 10. 11th place goes to Aaron Jeanson, ahead of Morgan Quinn in 12th position. Adrien Laysac, who is the French Formula Ford Championship leader coming into the weekend, finishes in 13th place. 14th goes to Adam Quartermain, and 15th goes to the number 10 of Nicole Woods. And Brendan Lee did finish the race, but back in 16th and about a minute and a half off the race leader, and we lost Micah Mcpherson, as you can see on the screen with the last few results, just after the end of lap number 1. So the cars head into pit lane, and hopefully they can get the mechanical issues sorted on Brendan Lee's car. He was had such a great race up until that point where he started to drop back, up as high as around 6th position. And let's see. There's a few comments coming in. Of course, remember, if you are watching on the live stream, both on YouTube or on Facebook, please do get your comments in as the races go on, of course, because we do have feeds both for Facebook and YouTube, which means we'll be able to read any insights and any thoughts that you've got on the live stream and any of the racing that's gone on. We've just seen a brilliant National Formula Ford race. Coming up next on the programme is going to be the Volkswagen Racing Cup, always a brilliant tin-top style championship. They come off the back of 2 thrilling races at Donington Park, and it should hopefully be more of the same. But no championship leader Martin Depper this weekend. We'll see what he's got and see what the rest of his championship contenders can do to try and usurp him and bring that points lead down. So the car's back into pit lane, and we'll begin racing for the Volkswagen Racing Cup back underway very, very shortly. So in terms of results there, looking at the Ross Martin, that will do his championship chances no harm at all. Rory Smith will certainly appreciate the result, because he came into the weekend looking at the points for the weekend for the National Formula Fords. He came in 6th in the standings, so he managed to get some good points over the likes of Spike Colbecker and Neil McLennan, who was 4th. James Clark, he was 3rd, and Jonathan Brown, who's 5th in the points and finished 5th in that first race. So good to see that Rory Smith picked up some good points. I'm not sure if that contact is going to be possibly investigated or not, but we'll leave that to the clerk of the course and the stewards to decide if there's any action on that contact. But they will probably argue that it was just good old-fashioned Formula Ford wheel banging, but we'll leave the officials to decide if there's any course of action on that. And as we said, looking down the rest of the drivers that are in that run as well, good to see Jamie Sharp getting a good, decent result up there in the top 10. And as I said, Brendan Lee, of course, came into the weekend 9th in points as well after his first few weekends at the wheel of a Formula Ford. Danielle Williams, of course, looks to be the mother of Carter, saying, good job, son from America, hashtag Mighty55. Good to see that got some overseas support. So looks like your boy did well, Danielle. Good to see him back at the wheel of a Formula Ford. Of course, he's been running in British Formula 4 over this season, of course, with the JHR developments and Lebanese Craft all the way through. He also has raced before that in some single-seater stuff, and did even make the Road to Indy Scholarship Shootout once before, so he's certainly a very talented young driver, is Carter, and making his way up the ranks. And as we say, of course, he's one of 3 drivers in the week in this field from America, along with Aaron Jeanson and also Spike Colbecker. And as we said at the start of the race as well, a very a belated happy Thanksgiving to any American fans watching, and any American drivers, of course, because July of Independence Day, what am I talking about? Thanksgiving's in November. I've got things completely mixed up. Anyway, forget I just said that. Happy Independence Day, July the 4th, to our 3 American drivers. Thanksgiving is not till around about November time, so getting my dates completely mixed up on that one. As we say, hopefully, we should have Bryn down there very shortly, hopefully, with our top 3 to have a chat. And it actually looks as though I'm being told we're going to go straight into our next race. So, well, congratulations to the top 3, and well done to Ross Martin for picking up that race victory.